So I've just finished week 11, which was end stage return to play. This was definitely so far my favourite module because it kind of takes into account everything that you've learnt before in the past, and then you're putting it out onto the field. And it's also more rewarding, especially if you're dealing with players, from rugby, football, whatever, any kind of sport, or even running and stuff like that as well. So it's nice to get them out because then they're feeling like they're getting a little bit more accomplishment from doing that as well. So it's quite rewarding, and it's good just to have a little bit of change of scenery as well. So yeah, it's nice to get everything, put it all together and finally get them out playing. We're now moving on to the last module now, which is building resilience in the gym. I'm looking forward to this one as well because of my personal training background. So kind of working out how I'm going to adapt what I would do normally. So like, I don't know, like let's say a conventional squat, and how you would adapt that to have more of a physio perspective. So it is something that I've kind of struggled with in the past, kind of linking the physio side to the gym side as well and adapting different exercises. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting this one done.
So module 12 is all about building resilience and moving well in the gym. So when we've done all the hard work up to this point with our athletes or our patients, we've restored intent through the midfoot, got them good intent in all directions on the bed, built them up to higher loads. If we can get them incorporating some of this stuff in the gym, that's going to have a massive carryover for us. And now when they're doing the gym sessions, etc. in training, or even just your general population in terms of general movements, if they can incorporate the stuff that we've worked on up to this point, that's going to help us build long-term and long-lasting results. So the basic premise of this, if we take a deadlift for example, and obviously my artwork is not the best here, but if we take a deadlift as an example, you got your foot, knee, hip, lower back, just to keep it simple. Obviously we're going to have arms and stuff as well, but just to keep things really simple, we want everything to do its job. So let's say for argument's sake, we want the calf, hamstring, glute, lower back, and then let's say arms, abdominals, 20% each. Let's say, give or take, everything doing its job, nothing have to work too hard. That's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 adds up, perfect. So what we often see a lot of the time when people have had injuries, etc., what we've worked on from session 2 up till session 7 and 8 is that we're going to have a lack of intent, let's say, through the leg, which is not going to let the hip engage, and then the back's going to do all the work instead. So the arm, say, is working fine. So we've got 20, 30, 35%. So now the back's got to do 65% of the work. And that's like your typical people with back pain, after deadlifting, etc. Now, obviously, these numbers aren't exact. I appreciate that. But when we do have people who do have overload in the back when they are lifting, and again, deadlifts, someone training when they're deadlifting after the session, back's a bit stiff. Normally, the back's doing a little bit too much work. Now, by the time we've got to this point, we should have corrected a lot of this stuff. But if we go back into the gym and they're using the same strategies that overloaded the back in the first place, obviously then there's a high risk of that injury recurring and coming back. So when we get to session 12, we want to really, really work on having good intent from the foot, making sure we're getting good loading through everything basically doing its job. And that's going to give us the best chance of long-term relief. And in the second part of this episode, we'll go through the deadlift and talk exactly about what I mean in that, exactly like what I mean with that. And there's a couple of things that a lot of people do when they deadlift that really puts the back under a lot of stress. And if we can correct those with a lot of our athletes, we can avoid problems long term. Is that going to make sense, Sarah? Cool, perfect. So we'll talk about this in the practical in part 2 a little bit more. Any questions so far, just pop below in the comments.